Greetings, Dapplings, and welcome back to Captain of Industry and to our partially, though rapidly, less partially, completed steam setup over here. We've still got one of the turbines to build and one of the generators to build before this whole unit is complete. I'm very, very happy about that. No designation available to be mined in an area. Oh, right, okay. That's actually quite nice. We are little by little, bit by bit, working up this area here. Let me have a look over that, though. It seems like we've got a couple of issues around here. Let's make sure that this is all leveled out properly. That'll give us something to do. We're also going to want to continue this ramp all the way up here. Let's just make sure that that's all happening as it is meant to, and little by little we're actually filling this area out, and I'm actually reasonably happy with that. Let me just expand the mined area. There we go. Done and done. But on the topic of things yet to be complete, we sadly weren't able to finish off our steelworks in the last episode, though I'm actually fairly happy with the amount of work we did. That is something that's still hanging over us. That's definitely going to be the thing that we need to focus on this episode. But before we get to that, there is one more job that I would like to get complete. We have completely moved our smelting setup for both copper and iron away from the initial landing here. Problem with that is that maintenance still requires copper and iron to complete, and eventually it will require steel. Now, the thing with maintenance is that unlike a lot of items in the game, though very similar to energy since we were talking about it just now, it is an intangible resource. Having maintenance made is just kind of this global inventory, and as long as it is somewhere, then it's everywhere. Much the same with power. We're not having to erect power lines to transmit the energy. So, really it's only the delivery of input materials that matters down here, and currently it's having to be brought all the way from up here down to the industrial area at the landing. Previously it was right next to it, so everything was nice and easy and there was very little fuel being used. I think we should move our copper and iron maintenance up here, and then once we've built the steel smelting, we'll probably just transition to steel, and so it'll still be in the right place. So I think that's probably going to be the first thing that we work on today. So let me go ahead and pop down a couple of bits and indeed bobs. Let's find the maintenance depot. We'll pop you in here, right about there, should do nicely, and we'll leave a little bit of a gap just because it looks a bit better, I think. We're then going to want flat conveyors. We will probably have them just deliver from a single output. And if I end up building another two, I can have them pull from the second output on the input warehouse there. We want a second one of these, and we will position that about here for symmetry's sake, and then we'll just have this one roll on down as well. And once this is all built, then we will simply decommission the previous buildings. Now, presently, I'm going to say they are going, well, honestly, eventually they're going to want to do both. But so I will just say, you know, you can do either or. But this one will be for iron and this one for copper. There we go. I'm going to want imports, but not exports. And pretty much I want them always full. Always full, please and thank you. And this is going to cut down massively on the amount of fuel that our trucks are having to use, and also the time it takes them to do a particular job, and that is going to be a big help for us. How are things coming along over here? Let's have a look. I believe this is the highest priority 2, whereas this is priority 4. There we go. We've now got the second turbine up and running, and that is going to dramatically improve the efficiency here, because 3 generators were just a little bit more than a single high pressure turbine could manage, but the 2 of these together will be able to run 4 of them comfortably, and during certain down periods when there isn't quite as much need for the energy, they'll pump that into a flywheel to store up a little bit of that kinetic energy, which will then be able to smooth out the production of power, because those turbines take a little while to ramp up to full production. Now, the other thing that we also managed to get done in the last episode, there were quite a few things actually. Again, I was reasonably happy with it. We managed to get copper refinement 2, which means we can now can produce acid. And acid is going to be very, very important for making copper plates much, much more efficiently. And later on, a couple of other things besides. Now, that's going to require steel smelting. Setting up both of these is going to be a little bit of a chore, honestly. Now, I would like this to be certain to be done, so I'm going to make that a priority 1 job. There we go. That's nice and easy. We're going to put off the steel just for a little bit, though. However, I am going to quick deliver these. Let's get them all done. We'll take a little bit of pressure off our trucks. One of the other things that we managed to do at the end of the last episode was we've now more or less got edicts that are making this place actually a pretty comfortable place to live. We're getting more food and more food again. More food over here, then more food again, and also more drinking water, and also more electricity. It feels bad that, you know, it's like, yeah, you can have a little bit more water to drink. Yeah, that feels a little bit weird to say, oh yes, look at my people, how prosperous they are. They can drink 2 cups of water a day. Nevertheless, we're spending some of that unity on keeping a population boost going. Also on reducing the amount of fuel that we use and the amount of maintenance we use. So, you know, things are working reasonably well for the time being, but it will be great once we can actually turn some of those edicts off. And I feel that we probably could on some of them, but maybe not maintenance for now. Fuel, I feel that we're actually, you know, quite a good spot there. We're going to make this a priority 2. Let's turn that off priority. I'm going to make that a priority 2, and this one a priority 3. I really, really do want our... Oh, never mind. We've got it all up and indeed running. That is perfect. Now we've got a 1.6 megawatt capacity for power. Well, in that case, this can go up to a priority 1 then, and this one can become a priority 2. Let's get those on the go. And let's just go ahead and have a look at our diesel generators. How are these being utilized right now? They're actually being utilized quite heavily. Priority for electricity generation. In case there is a surplus of power, a generator with higher priority, a lower number, will generate power, while the ones with lower priority will be on standby. Alright, well, let's just make sure that these are all pretty much as low as they can go. We'll have you on a 15, and you on a 14, and after that, I'm fairly confident that we just don't need these anymore, so I'm just going to tear them down. Let's get rid of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. That will sort us out for a little bit. Let's see. Well, what kind of priority were these on? They're actually reasonably high, but still could be a little bit better. In terms of our boilers, the system that we've got over there is doing quite well. I'm actually really, really happy with that. And this ramp is doing fantastically well. I'm actually very, very happy with the progress that's being made over here. Let's continue this ramp up a little bit more, though. There we go. We've just got a little bit left to fill, honestly. We should be good. In fact, let's take that all the way up. Right up through there. And we should be sorted. Okay, so what we're waiting on right now, getting the maintenance depots built, and then we can tear these down. Use for our other resources. Actually, no, I think we are in a reasonable position now to start work on the steel smelters. Now, the thing with steel smelters is one steel producer will require the output of 2 blast furnaces worth of iron to make 1 metal caster's worth of steel. We are also going to need a slightly higher tech item, which will be, and where will this come from? General machines. There we are, an air separator. We're going to need oxygen to fuel our oxygen furnace. Now, give me just a moment to get the general layout, and I shall bring you back in a second once production is underway. And there we go. We have finally finished our first steel smelter. Now, if you're thinking that this is a little bit more complex than the previous build was, you'd be right, because we now need water, and I don't believe that was the case previously. These are now cooled casters and require a little bit of water in order to turn the molten steel into steel plates. So we've got a little bit of a delivery system set up over here. Now, as for the air separator, because I remember how many people took issue with the fact that I was just dumping the nitrogen in the last playthrough. We're so far away from where we're going to be using the nitrogen, it makes no sense for us to A, run a pipe, or B, send trucks from all the way over here, where it's already starting to get a little bit congested, all the way down to the farm. So we're just going to have to roll with 2 air separators. Currently, we're using the maximum output of the oxygen side. It's producing 8 every 20 seconds. And we could probably run 2 of these off a single one. It's using 8 every 40 seconds there, and we're just dumping the nitrogen back into the atmosphere. As you would expect, nitrogen, oxygen, they don't carry any kind of pollutant effect, so we can just put that back in the atmosphere without any real concern. However, we are having to get rid of a reasonable amount of exhaust over here, and that's not something I'm very happy with. Hopefully we'll be able to resolve that in the near future, and our ship modifications are complete. Look at those fancy guns on our ship. This is truly marvelous. You'll also notice that we have, or rather are in the process of just finishing up everything down here, just getting the last bits of copper plate out of there. We have moved the entire assembly over here, and I've in fact gone ahead and I've future-proofed it by doubling up the amount of maintenance depots. So we're not going to have to run these with any kind of boost in order to get by. Furthermore, we have largely completed construction over here of the ramp that leads up here. Now, I have made the decision to not worry too much about the coal for the time being. We are over the top of a reasonable supply there, honestly. And eventually we'll probably go for it, but for now, I don't think it's really that much of a concern for us. What is a concern, though, whilst we've been setting up all of the steel, is we are completely out of light oil, and we are now running this boiler largely on heavy oil. We're going to need more of these boilers. That's a simple reality that we've got to have to face over here. We are going to definitely need more power over there. Now, there are a couple of things that we can do to move things along in this direction. There are a few other items that we're going to want. Oh, there we are, ship armor. I don't want to send the ship out just yet without having armor plating, so let's get that on the go. That's going to use up a lot of our iron, which is actually okay, because we've been kind of sitting on a massive backlog of iron over here for so long that I even took one of the excavators away. I think we can probably go back to not having that be the case. We definitely don't need 2 working on the copper anymore. We'll pop 2 back on iron, and that should be good. We might even take one away from there for a little while. Now, that should take a little while to get all set up, but we should be able to get out there and get involved in a couple of scraps in the very near future. Now, in regards to our temporary / permanent diesel refining, or rather oil refining setup, we now want to start looking at producing acid. Now, we're not going to be producing acid directly in this setup anymore. That's actually produced in a different way. If we have a look at acid, we're going to need sulfur and water in a mixer to produce the acid. Okay, well, how do we get sulfur? I really do like this little recipe icon, and I like the recipe book itself, but I love the fact that the recipe book, considering it's an industrial game, is still a bowl with a whisk. I find that greatly satisfying. But sulfur is going to be produced by a sour water stripper. So we're going to strip the sour water with a little bit of steam and a bit of sour water into 2 sulfur for ammonia. And if you don't want it, you don't have to take the water, but we absolutely do, because we can then use that sulfur and water directly in the production of acid, and any leftover water can be sent straight back down here. Now, what else can we use ammonia for? Not a lot of things, actually. Ammonia is a bit of a rough one, and it's incredibly toxic. But well, actually, I say incredibly toxic. It's only 20, but still, we will eventually be able to use this for fertilizer, and maybe a little bit of the water as well. But I imagine we're just going to take the water from our main water supply. What we're going to do is we'll set up fertilizer in the very near future to carry over with the potatoes. Honestly, we probably don't need to, really. We're actually doing all right with the amount of food that we've got. But the first step in all of this is ultimately going to be the sour water. So let's go ahead and find you, sour water stripper, right there. Let's have a look at the inputs. we're going to want sour water, which is going to come from there. We're also going to want steam. Well, I guess we could actually set it up like this. Although it's not the best use of the water that I imagined, we could totally have the sour water stripper facing this way and maybe have the production of acid right here. Now, how big is a mixer again? Let's have a quick look at that now. Will that be over here? Yes, it will be. It's actually a relatively small affair. We could probably get this set up. Perhaps have something like that here. And maybe have a little acid right next to, you know, all the homes. Nah, nothing says home like a vat of acid, really. Nevertheless, that is what we're going to do. So let's go ahead and use the sour water stripper, because it's going to be too convenient for me not to, really. This is far too convenient of a position for us to just give up on. Let's scooch you. No, I think that's actually probably going to be okay. Right, so what we're going to want first and foremost is, of course, the sour water, which we're going to bring down from up here. Let's bring it down a little bit better. There we are, all the way in, and connect up here. Now, the problem with this... ultimately, I'm still going to want to... We're going to end up producing a lot more than I need. So how about instead, we are going to make a storage tank for sour water. And I'm going to hook this... I dislike hooking them up directly, so I'm going to pop it here instead. This is going to change the way I'm going to lay this out a little bit. I'm going to keep you here for this one, though, because it's going to be... It's basically a brand new system in the game, so we're going to have a watch of this together. There we are. We can hook up the steam over here. That shouldn't be a problem at all. There's plenty of steam there to spare. But now we'll take the sour water from up here, and we'll have that... we'll bring it up just a little bit further before we start bringing it down. But then we can have that just travel around and connect up right there. Now, this is going to prioritize... Well, right now it's only going to go in there, actually. I should allow for a priority valve around here, and that should be fine. So let's pop down the priority valve first. In fact, that's the whole point of me building this. Let's pop that about here, I would say. Maybe there, in fact. This way, I'm going to give it a little bit of room for me to connect up over here. Again, I'm finicky about such things. There we are. And sorry about messing you around there, plumbers. Let's get that all hooked up nice and tidy like. And that will give us everything we're going to need for this to start producing. Now, the next step then is to actually get this out over here and connect up to this pipe. Now, that one's going to be an important one, because all of these pipes are instead going to be sending their sour water in the opposite direction. So by having this connect up here, we can still make use of this pipe in particular. Let me just double check. Yes, it is sour water. I should have probably checked that before, but nevertheless, here we are. Right, let's get that connected up, and we'll just have you connect up over there, and that should actually look okay. I'm reasonably happy with that one, in fact. With that, I want these to toggle direction, though we're going to have to wait for this to be done first. Let's quick deliver this. I would like to see that all go through. And once I can see whether these are X's or O's, they are O's, so let's set that up. Outgoing product on the O list there. Perfect. And this shouldn't really... Well, I'll allow them to import, I guess. But generally speaking, they shouldn't. Let's then toggle these directions. So, toggle direction. There we go. And this can instead be deleted. And that will complete that whole section. We should be able to very quickly deliver this along. Is that a pipe level 2? It is. Alright, well, we are building it as a pipe level 2, so that's fine. That was probably unnecessary, if I'm perfectly honest, but we'll see how this goes. This one now needs to be set up as a priority, but that is all going to be pretty nice, I feel. And then this will continue to use this liquid dump, but only when needed. There we are. We've got a bunch of crude oil being delivered. Marvellous. The tanks are getting a little bit low. Saltwater stripper has no recipe selected. Well, let me fix that for you. We are going to want to produce both the sulfur, ammonia, and water, so all three, actually. Now, in terms of the sulfur, we could just straight up use it immediately. Is it used for anything else? Let's have a quick look in our secret cookbook. We have got actually two things. One for acid and one as a substitute for coal. Now that one is going to be particularly important because I'm tired of using up the coal over here. So I'm going to turn off import. In fact, I want this emptied. Let's get that all out of there. And then we're going to set you up to also allow for naphtha and sulfur to be used. Let's get this coal out of here as quick as you can, please. And indeed, thank you. What? Hang on. Which one are we emptying? Oh, I was a little bit concerned there for a second. I saw trucks moving away with tankers on top instead of loose storage. That was a bit of a concern. But of course, these are the diesel generators, so that makes a lot of sense. They're currently sending it down here to refuel the docks there. Okay, so we want to get a mixer set up and running. That will need both a bit of water and a little bit of sulfur, and perhaps we could have that set up here instead. Something along these lines would probably do quite nicely. In fact, we can tuck it back a little bit. How do I want to prioritize the use of the sulfur? I actually feel that I want the sulfur to be prioritized to the mixer, as I feel that we'll use less acid. But as long as I build a U-shaped balancer, I'll be able to... Can I just connect them? No, I can't really. I'll be... Oh, actually, is this a flat? No. I believe that you can't connect a balancer directly up to a port. But the concern that I have with the giving one a priority over the other right now is I don't know how quickly we're going to go through the acid, and if my rubber production requires the acid, that could actually cause us some issues in the future. So let's pop a balancer down, because I can always tell it to split it evenly. I don't need to prioritize if I don't want to. Next up then, we will have the mixer. I'll pop that right about here. We're going to get a pipe balancer as well, much the same setup over here. We'll pop that down right there, and we'll just take this water out, and wherever it can, it should deliver to the mixer directly, and if it cannot, then it should realistically deliver to the water over here. And we can just have this water go direct in. Well, this might actually struggle a little bit. It would probably be better to deliver it to the tank itself. So let's go ahead and do that. But I'm going to have to expressly ensure that you can still import. On that note, I should probably also pop down a tank over here as well. Do I have enough room for that now? This is getting increasingly tight. I guess I could do something like this. That's going to be a little bit of a squeeze, but again, this area is meant to be... that's the wrong place. Is meant to be temporary, and there's no better way to make something temporary in one of my Let's Plays than making it look ugly to start with. There we are. I'm tricking myself into fulfilling my promise. Right, let's have a look at you. We're about halfway done over there. That's fine. Right, the ammonia, though, that definitely needs to go into a tank, and can only go into a tank because I am going to have to truck that away. So we could have that something like... Well, we're going to have an acid tank over here. We could have an ammonia tank right beside it, and that would indeed work. Let's line these up if I can. Okay, I need to... Now, it's one way or the other, really. Neither... we can't have both of them lined up, rather. Still, I think we're going to go for this one right there. And since I can't have them lined up, I may as well give them a little bit of extra space. There we go. And ammonia can go straight down here to about there, and then connect up. There we are. Right, this will be for... we won't allow import, we will allow export of ammonia only, and pretty much should be kept empty as soon as you can, really. Acid, much the same. We aren't going to allow import. We only want to export. This one will be for water, and I will allow import. I will never allow export, though, and it should really be kept full at all times. Same on both of them, realistically speaking. I would like this to prioritize outgoing on the route X. This one can balance them as and where it can. Right, there we go. Let's get all of that set up. Perfect. Starting to get there. How are we doing over here? Not doing so great. We've got nowhere to drop off the coal. Well, it pains me, but it looks like we're going to have to extend out our coal storage. On the plus side, we have enough materials to quickly put that together. Once again, turn these off on both, and only allow export over here. But we can export it on 36. Right, there we go. You should now have somewhere to cart all of that. Let's go, go, go. Oh, actually, that being said, that won't, in fact, work. I guess I'll allow import over here, I suppose. That's going to be a bit of an issue. We'll turn off export there for just a second to try and get these to move stuff out, but... Oh! No, they've actually already managed it. Perfect. Okay, well, in that case, we can switch this one over to sulfur and keep full. Alright, never mind. I was being a bit of a silly there. Okay, well, let's turn off import again and turn back on export. There we go. Everything should be as it needs to be. Let's keep that one full. That should be fine. And yeah, everything else should now be lined up again. I'm not really sure why they were sat there, but... oh, I should have had a look at where they were trying to get to, I guess. Really? Can you not get there? Huh. I would have imagined you could. But evidently not. Okay. That's a bit of a struggle, but I guess the best way at this point to take care of that is to simply abandon the idea of delivering directly there and instead have a go-to. So let's do this. There we go. We'll turn off imports over here. There we are. And instead we will quick build this and quick build that, and this should take care of all of that. Right. Let's have a quick look. We're currently going through construction 3, and then we'll be moving on to fertilizer soon after that. This will now be set for coal, and will be told to be kept full at all times, just to ensure that this always has an extra bit of coal if it's needed. There we go. Right. We now want sulfur delivered, so let's get that U-shaped conveyor on the way. And out here. This is going to get a little bit tight, so I will actually move that down a bit. Oh, here is the problem. We're not going to be able to get the diesel out of there unless I do something that I kind of dislike having to do. That said, actually, if we pop that in there and then promptly pop in a vehicle ramp, a small vehicle ramp. Ooh, that's still going to be quite a tight squeeze. No, we're going to have to take this up. I, generally speaking, dislike doing that, but in this instance, there's really no other way that we're going to be able to achieve it. So, we're just going to have to live with that one. And since we are, I may as well just go all in. There we go. I'm not really sure why it is that I don't like having these massive scaffolds everywhere, but no, I really feel it it looks messy. That being said, maybe I shouldn't care about that. Or maybe I should care consistently. Some places I think it looks lovely, and in other places, no, that looks ugly. No rhyme or reason. Oh well. Right, okay, so that's all taken care of, and we are still, little by little bit, building out the maintenance depot over here. Now, with these in place, are we starting to build up? Yes, we are starting to build up acid. That is absolutely marvelous. Right, well, in that case, we no longer wish to store water over here. And indeed, I would like these to make use of acid wherever they can. Now, the problem with the acid, and this is going to be a big issue ultimately because of my use of sulfur now instead of coal, and that is that if we fill up the acid tank or the ammonia tank, I'm not going to be producing any more rubber. Thankfully, we've got quite a lot of rubber in use, so to use, so we might not have to care about that one too much for the foreseeable future, but it is a concern. Having any kind of critical system with the potential to become stuffed does mean that later down the line we may see something shut down just because I can't use the acid fast enough, or indeed the ammonia. So that is definitely a concern. Okay, we've got a bit of a power crisis as well. Let's have a look at these. Those are both running at maximum. All right. Well, time then for us to pop these boosts back in place. Let's get all of these boosted. And I'll pop a boost over there as well. We can easily afford it for now, but that does mean that the time for us dilly-dallying with regards to more power is over. Perfect. Right, it's going to take us a little bit of time to get all of this sorted, but let's make sure that they are doing that in the correct order. Let's pop this as a priority 2, a priority 3, and then a priority 4 and 5. The rest can then be finished as and when. But that's going to take us a little bit of time to get all set up, and in the meanwhile, we've got a bunch of stuff going on here. We've got some acid that wants to be delivered. However, I do not allow easy access there. Okay, let's set up acid deliveries over here and keep full. Do not export it. Alright, now then, that's going to take a little bit of time to get set up, and unfortunately it's kind of an important high priority process. So let's remove some of the labour for our trucks and thereby speed the whole process up by getting these quick built. How much Unity have we got? We've got plenty of Unity. That is not going to be a thing that we need to worry about. Right, there we go. Okay, so the last one, priority 2, that one should be finished in a reasonably at a reasonable speed, but we need more iron, really. That surprises me greatly. That surprises me very greatly, actually. Okay, let's keep both of these equally full if we can, please and thank you. Alright, I think it's time that we move some of my excavators from other places and get them down here helping out with gathering the iron here. Let's also prioritize excavating iron where we can. Alright, so a little bit of an iron shortage. We did use up an awful lot on getting the ship together, but that ship can now do some marvelous, wonderful things. Oh, what are you doing? You can't reach pickup. How about you don't try and do anything with that one? You only deal with that one instead. There we go. Right, let's get our ship out there. It has been a little while, and it's time for us to do a little bit more exploration. Sure. Let's go in this direction if we can. Oh, not enough crew, really? Oh. Yes, not enough crew. There we go. Let's get everything going. There we are. And let's head back out. For some reason, well, I guess while the ship was being retrofit, there was no point in having the crew still on board, so they got a bit of shore leave. I hope they enjoyed it, because they're probably not going to get any shore leave again for quite some time. Yes. And here we are with the battle. Now we've got... Oh, wow, we took a big hit to one of our guns there, but that should generally be fine. We've got the same types of weapons, the same amount of health, but we got twice as many weapons, so this will be a fight that we will win, but we will be limping home by the looks of it. Wow, okay, that's actually going... That took quite some time. We'd almost destroyed their cannon completely. And we've discovered a new oil rig. Okay, well, that's actually not so bad, I suppose. But let's get the ship back home. We are going to desperately need some repairs. I'm not actually sure if it's at all possible to lose your ship, but that would be kind of an awful way to find out, wouldn't it? How are things going down here? Generally speaking, things are going okay. We're starting to stockpile the acid, but it's going to take a bit of time before we actually get to that, simply because we are presently... Well, I suppose I could tell them to empty out the water. I think we're just going to allow the water to be used up. That seems like an easier way of dealing with that, honestly. How are we doing down here? We are doing relatively well on everything else but power. So now it's just a matter of time of waiting for our power situation to be resolved. We're currently waiting on delivering a little bit more acid. Again, we can't deliver over here, so I'm going to turn off imports for the trucks there and the same imports for the trucks here. No point in doing any of that right now. Okay, so for the next couple of minutes, we're just going to be passing some time as I wait for the advanced construction materials to trickle through and our second steam generator column being set up. And welcome back to a fully functioning expansion to our power plant. That actually required a slight adjustment to our steam generation that I completely overlooked and only realized was necessary when suddenly everything lost power because our generators were flickering on and off. And as you know, a high pressure turbine takes quite some time to spin up to be efficient, and so we needed to have a constant delivery of steam, and well, the moment that was interrupted, it basically loses all of its efficiency and has to start the whole process all over again, which is absolutely not acceptable. So we built a second backup generator because honestly, if none of these are firing, then both of these are going to have to fire, but hopefully for the most part they will only have to top things up here and there. But as you can see, already having to do a little bit of extra work there. Now this one, let's have a look. Oh, you're going to be producing CO2, and that will occasionally cause this to back up. I think we're going to have to address that now rather than later, because again, this could cause some problems for us too. So let's go ahead and just line this up about there, and instead of having this output pipe go over to the other side, we'll have it come over here instead. Let's pop it up to about there, and then have that one go straight down, and then we will delete this connection there. That should work quite nicely, and since this only requires the basic construction parts, we should be able to get that up and running immediately. As you can see, we have got a couple of spots where we've got iffy power, unfortunately. Let's just remove that quickly. There we go. The steam should be moving through reasonably fast. Let's have a look down here. This is moving through at 3.3 per second. This requires 2 every 5 seconds, so this should easily be able to manage all of these turbines, and we shouldn't be having any kind of staggering effect. This is one of the reasons why you'll notice that I set up multiple flare stacks instead of just having all of the things, which we've got 3 different outputs here that can go into a flare stack, but I built a flare stack for each output, and that's because if you're trying to push more than one type of input into a building, it can force it to kind of choke as one backs up over the other. There's no real rhyme or reason as to what gets priority. So I generally feel that it's better to have a separate input or a separate building for each type of input in those cases, such as exhaust or indeed CO2 in the case of the fuel gas. Now hopefully we will see these running a little bit better, but I'm still noticing that there's quite a slowdown here. These are slowing down once again, and I'm not really liking that at all. Maybe we're going to have to change that up a little bit more. Currently this is outputting 8 per... Well, this is the output for 10 seconds, so it's less than 1 a second, so that should be fine. And this should be able to take 3 times that much. So I'm not really sure why they've got staggered firing right now. Ah, I see. That would explain quite a lot, actually. We're not able to get enough water into the boilers. Alright, fair enough. Let's go ahead and upgrade these. And that should then fix the problem for us. Now, we're only going to need to upgrade this one as far as the break there. Because once we get to the break, each pipe leading to a boiler only needs to take the load of that one single boiler. So the same over here. We'll only need to upgrade this far. That's possibly the other reason why things were starting to stall a little bit. There we go, and we're now moving the water into this, into that tank at a reasonable speed. Okay, there we go. Starting to see the boilers properly spinning up now. Still, though, not noticing much steam moving through the pipes. But let's have a watch here, make sure that everything is going okay. We've got a decent amount of steam coming in here. Hopefully, these will be able to prioritize as they move through. Now that the actual pipes can take that much more load, we should see more of the boilers firing simultaneously over time as well. Let's have a look down here, and hopefully we'll start to see these reaching their maximum efficiency. There we go. Now, this does put much more of a strain on our water supplies, honestly, of which we are starting to struggle a little bit. That's a bit of a concern. Might be worth me having a single pump over here just to guarantee supply to the boilers. I think that's probably going to be wise. Yeah, so let's go ahead and pop that in. There we go. We'll hook that up directly. There we are. And let's get that one built immediately as well, please and thank you. This, of course, will put a little bit more strain on the power system, but this should be okay. I want to prioritize inputs coming in from X. So if we've actually stocked this up from our ideally renewably sourced access to water, then that should be okay. I mean, this is renewable essentially. Every time it rains, it tops up the water table, but generally speaking, I would like to get it for free rather than having to pay for it, so we'll see how that one goes. But this should ensure that there's always a little bit of water in the pipes, and sadly not quite enough coming in there right now. Let's have a watch of this one though. Let's see how that goes. There we are, a bunch of water entering in through here and gradually getting topped off again. Alright, well, I mean, that's nice, but we definitely do need a little bit more pull from this. Let's have a look. How are these pipes handling things? This pipe is maxed out. This cannot deliver any faster than it's currently delivering. So, let's take a little bit of that pressure off it by adding in some more water collectors. But these ones will only deliver to that side of the water tanks. Now, the nice thing about this is it's going to use up some of the wood supplies we've got, so it's going to get our tree cutters out and about. Actually, we're starting to get a little bit low on that. Rather, there aren't many trees left. We've got a stupendously large amount of wood in storage, so we're not going to have to worry about that one for quite some time, I should imagine. There we go. And finally, let's get all of these hooked up. So, one down there, and then we'll run this pipe all the way along. Now, since we are prioritizing this only to accept water from the rainwater collectors, I don't need to create any kind of priority system over here. I'm happy for any of these to feed into it. There we are. And then the same on this side as well. All the way down. Now, can we get around there in a nice way? We sort of can, yes. Now, we're obviously going to have to upgrade these pipes quite desperately, actually, as they will not, in any way, shape, or form, be able to carry this much product through. Let's upgrade that one. And once again, we'll probably upgrade them all along the any place where there's multiple sources entering at the same point. We'll get that upgraded. And oh, thank goodness we've got Unity. This makes this job 1,000 times easier. There we go. Now, let's have a look. Okay, well, it's starting to fill that up. Good. Glad to see it. And it looks like our energy generation is now a little bit more stable. But I've been meaning to set this up for quite some time, so I'm happy to do it at this point. So let's get that one on the go as well. And again, get these delivered automatically, or automagically. There we go. And the same down here. We keep storing up all of this Unity. We may as well use it. But that is the last of our upgraded building materials. So we are going to need to let that one have a little bit of time to get over there. How are we doing for rubber? We're still doing amazingly. We're doing okay with the fluid storage. We're not doing okay with the ammonia storage, rather. We are completely out, as it happens. And that is a bit of a problem, because that means that we're not stockpiling any more acid. We have already transitioned across the acid on the plus side. I don't think we're going to need copper for quite some time. Yeah, we've got a pretty healthy supply of copper right now, so that's not too much of a concern right there. All right, how's the power going down here? They all shut down. Is that due to a lack of steam? No, there's plenty of steam available. There's no issue there. Honestly, I think we're actually doing quite well. And there we go, with chemical plant and fertilizer finally researched. We don't have anything left in the queue, so I guess it's about time for us to start looking into that. Now, with our current water woes, it is somewhat tempting to go for thermal desalination, but right now, I would say our construction parts are the bigger concern. We are not running out of water any longer. With the groundwater pumps, they're actually covering things as long as we've got a little bit of power, and it'll take power to deal with the water pumps anyway. So I think going for Assembly Electric 2 is really where we need to be at, as this is going to give us significantly faster production of the various construction parts, and that's going to be necessary also to get construction parts 3, I believe. Oh no, actually we can use the assembly parts 2 for that. That actually makes sense, because this probably requires construction parts 3 in order to make. Nevertheless, it's going to be very, very important for us to get that up and running as quickly as we can. Now, with the promise of fertilizer in our very, very near future, which is just in time really, because we are actually starting to work down through our supply of food, I'm afraid it's time to wrap things up there. This has actually been a much more productive episode than I was expecting. The last couple of hours have afforded us quite an improvement to our colony. First, and chief amongst them, we finished off the steel production. In fact, we're completely backed up on steel, which is marvelous. We've also moved across to using steel for maintenance, which means we're using much, much less of it, and also, as a consequence, much less copper to get our maintenance up and running. We've also, of course, moved maintenance over here to cut down on travel times for our trucks, which in turn has cut down on the amount of fuel we're using, and we've doubled up our maintenance production. We have reasonably we've expanded our rainwater collection, actually doubled it, in fact, and we have also doubled our energy production, and at the moment it actually looks like we are actually getting twice as much energy flowing through now that we've added an extra groundwater pump. Now, most of the time that's not going to be necessary, so we should be fine, but it is there as a backup should we need it. This is all looking rather good, though. I'm really, really happy with the move over to more or less entirely steam power. We shouldn't find that these are running at all anymore, though they are very, very loud. That has got a tiny, tiny little bit of utilization. Is it actually doing anything, or is that just made up? I don't know. We've also upgraded our ship with both armor and cannons, which I'm really, really happy about. Though we haven't really done too much with it, we will probably be seeing quite a lot of that in the following episode. But that is going to be it from me. I really do hope you have enjoyed today's Captain of Industry, and will be looking forward to the next. And in fact, if you are, then do consider leaving some feedback down below, or a like on the video if you feel thus inclined. But until next time, and as always, do take care, everyone.